Hi there. Are you overthinking at night? You can't stop. It's 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, and your brain is turning, turning, turning. Well, we're going to talk about what doesn't work, and then we're going to share what works. And we're going to do that in just one moment. Hi there. This is Stress Talk Live. This is the place where we help women over 40 to live healthier lives through strategic stress management and solution focused self care. Yeah, while we do focus on women, because hey, I am one, what we share is helpful to anybody, any gender. Today, we're going to be talking about overthinking and what helps overthinking. We're going to begin by talking about what doesn't work, and then we're going to get into what works. So, what's the title? The title is Stop Overthinking and Swap Three Common Ideas for Strong Actions. And these actions are things that are going to help you. It's not just thinking, it's action that works. So let's just jump into it because there's a lot that I want to share with you today. So, what are we going to do? What are we talking about first? We're actually talking about what? What doesn't work? Okay. What doesn't work? And you know how I do it. I often have my notes somewhere where I can see them, and they're over here today. They're that way today. So you're going to see me playing like I'm playing tennis, like I'm watching the French Open, doing this. Be watching the French Open. Yeah. Anyway, okay, let's talk about what doesn't work first. You know, and I have been guilty of this. Um, I have just told people to just stop thinking about it, right? Just stop thinking. Think about, just do stop, thought stopping, where you tell yourself, I'm not going to think about it. Well, yeah, that sounds good. The thing is, it's hard, right? It's hard to stop thinking. And the thing about it is, when you try to tell yourself, not to think about it, what do? You think about it, right? Anytime we use the word not or don't, it happens. We can't stop it. If you say don't, you tell a kid, yeah, anybody who has children out there, if they've told their children, don't, don't step on the wet floor. And what happens? The kid steps on the wet floor. Or you tell yourself, as I was starting to say, don't think about it. And what happens? You think about it, right? So just by saying don't do it or to stop doing it, it just doesn't work. It doesn't work that way. So we want to try to avoid saying just stop thinking about it. Um, I'm looking for my notes. Okay, got it. Got my notes. The other part of that is the more you try to suppress a thought, um, the more intrusive it becomes. And when I say intrusive, what I'm saying is that the more you try to suppress it and try to keep it so that you're not thinking about it, the more your brain is going to start working. It works overtime. Because remember, our brain is a problem solver. Our brain will take a scenario or it will take a situation and it will try to fix it. That's why we ruminate on things, because we're trying to fix it. We're trying to do better the next time we encounter a similar situation. So If we're telling ourselves not to think about it, we're going to think about it more. And if we're trying to suppress it, it's going to become more intrusive. Okay. The other part of just don't think about it, just stop thought, is that oftentimes when we can't just stop doing it, we feel guilty and we feel like we failed. We feel like we failed ourselves. We feel frustrated. Um, in my case, as a therapist who has said this to clients, they'll come back and say, well, I couldn't do it. And then I have to say to them, oh, it's okay. It's all right, right? But they were feeling frustrated because they couldn't do it and they wanted to do it. So we know that by saying just stop thinking about it, that does not that does not work. Another thing that we often tell people, and I don't do this is not one of my things that I do, but another thing that we tell people is to just think positive thoughts, think happy thoughts. There is value to that. I should say there is value to shifting your focus from something that is intrusive, something that is negative, something that is causing you some type of pain or suffering. There is value to that. However, the thing about shifting our thoughts from intrusive thoughts to happy thoughts or positive thoughts is that it does not stop the stress response. Remember, the stress response is a physical reaction. It's a physical reaction, a physical response to an unspecified stimulus. So it is physical. Thinking doesn't change the physical aspects of the stress response. And so, although you might change your thoughts, you're still having that physical reaction. One of the examples that I could give you is imagine that you're having a panic attack and somebody just says to you, have happy thoughts, as if that's going to stop the panic attack. It's not, because panic attacks are physical in nature, it's physical reaction. So, to tell someone to think positive thoughts doesn't work either. It doesn't stop the overthinking, the ruminating. When someone can't do that, again, there's blame. They may blame themselves. They may feel as if they are failures because they can't just switch that stress response off. It's not like you just turn a button and it's press the button and it turns off, or turn a knob and it turns off. No. So thinking positive thoughts does not work. And it may lead to more overthinking because you're shifting from ruminating or overthinking whatever your concern is to ruminating and overthinking about your inability to stop overthinking. Yeah, that. So we've talked about thinking positive thoughts does not work, right? Being told to think positive thoughts does not stop overthinking. And we've also talked about the just stop thinking, telling someone to just stop thinking. Don't think about it. That doesn't work. Here's another thing that does not work: trying to distract yourself. Trying to distract yourself. Now, I know. I hear it all the time. I hear that, hey, I'm on my phone. When I'm thinking about something, when I'm concerned about something, I just get on my phone and I just start scrolling. And yes, Instagram and Facebook often has like really funny things, funny posts on there. Yeah, that's avoidance. There's short-term benefits, of course, but it's avoidance. We avoid the concern. We avoid the situation. it doesn't resolve anything, which means that if it is not resolved, that means that the situation is going to cause us to overthink still. So distraction doesn't work. Well, let me put it this way. Distraction can work only if we are totally and genuinely absorbed in that distraction. It can work, but we have to be totally and genuinely absorbed in that distraction. But most of the time, we're not. Most of the time, we are half in and half out. We're half into the distraction and we're half out thinking about the things that concern us. You can be on your phone going through IG and you're thinking about what your concern is, overthinking. Okay. So distraction doesn't work. The other thing about distraction and using distraction to stop overthinking is that it doesn't calm the nervous system. The nervous system, when the stress response is kicked in, when fight or flight has kicked in, that is your nervous system, right? It's your nervous system at work. And distraction doesn't stop that. Again, it's a physical reaction. Your nervous system has kicked in. So you want your nervous system to understand that it's safe. When we're in fight or flight, we feel like we are not safe. We feel as if we are in danger. We feel as if there's a threat. Distraction does not change that. It doesn't change it at all. And that's why just distract yourself doesn't work. So we've talked about stop thinking about it. We've talked about think positive thoughts, and we've talked about distraction. Those are things that don't work. And yes, I am going to talk about what does work. Just give me a second because I'm going to talk about a fourth one, a fourth thing that does not work. A fourth thing that doesn't work is journaling it out, writing it down. Now, journaling works, and I do recommend journaling to some of my clients for some situations. When you are overthinking, however, writing down the things you're worried about, writing down the scenarios that you're trying to work through, writing down the things that are causing you greater anxiety is like rehearsing what's to come. It's just embedding those concerns, those worries into your nervous system. And again, it's a form of overthinking. You're just writing it down. Journaling can work, but it has to be strategic. And as I said, I will recommend it to some of my clients for certain situations and in certain ways. But just to write down your worries, it does not work. It has to be strategic. So we've talked about 4 things that we are often told that don't work. They're supposed to work. We'd like for them to work, but they really don't work for us. How come? Because overthinking isn't really the problem. The problem is that it's a nervous system problem. It's a physical problem. When we're overthinking, we are in fight or flight mode, which is the stress response, and that is a physical reaction. And you can't think your way out of a dysregulated nervous system. You can't think your way out of fight or flight because it's a physical response. You have to feel your way out. You have to come back into your body. You have to signal to your nervous system that you are safe. And that is done through physical means because fight or flight also known as the stress response, which causes overthinking, is a physical reaction to an unspecified stimulus. Okay, so let's talk about what works. Let's go there now. What works? Want to share what works. And as I share what works, I'm also going to give you some examples and I'm going to take you through um, some exercises so you'll know what to do and how to do it. Okay, how about that? I like it. Okay, so I'm going to share with you three techniques, and these techniques actually bring you back to present moment awareness. Now, where have you heard that before? Where? Where have you heard it before? I'll tell you where. I'll tell you where you've heard it. You've heard it from me right here. And when I've talked about present moment awareness, I've talked about it as it relates to mindfulness practice. How about that? And mindfulness, it happens to be the first pillar of a of something that I will be sharing with you. I spent a week last week sharing some things about this project that I've been working on for quite some time. And mindfulness is the first pillar. So when we talk about overthinking and what helps, the foundation of this is of these three techniques is taking the awareness pause. Last week, if you follow me on Instagram, you'll know that I talked about the pause last week. If you follow me on Facebook also, you know that I talked about the pause. So I want to share with you because the pause, the awareness pause, the pause is actually the foundation. And basically, what happens when you use this technique is you just notice that you're overthinking, but you notice it without judgment. We often notice things, but then we have an opinion about it. We have an opinion, we have a judgment about it. With this, the pause, you notice that you're overthinking, but you don't judge it. You just notice it. So let me kind of share with you how it goes, okay? And this is step one, the awareness pause. So first of all, you realize, oh, okay, I'm overthinking right now, and my brain is in a loop, and I don't have anything to do. You don't have anything to do, but you just notice it. So some people might say, there it is, there's a spiral, or they'll think, I'm thinking about it again. Once you notice it, then you want to name it, get specific. I'm replaying this conversation, or I'm imagining the worst case scenario. Think about it. Why? Because when you name something, you create a distance from it. It's no longer me, it's something that my brain is doing. Then you locate it in your body. Now, what does that mean exactly when you locate it in your body? What I'm talking about is, where do you feel it? Where are you feeling it in your body? And yes, I'm referring to the stress response when I'm talking about this. You're overthinking, but again, that's connected to the stress response. Where do you feel it? Is it in your chest? Is it in your throat? Is it in your shoulders, your stomach? Is it in your jaw? Where do you feel that tightness? Just notice it. Don't try to fix it. Just find out where the overthinking is causing the stress in your body right at that moment. Then I want you to breathe. Once you locate where the stress is in your body, I want you to breathe. Take 3 conscious breaths. You're going to inhale through your nose. You're going to exhale through your mouth. That breath is going to be slow and deliberate, and you're just going to notice it. You're just noticing it. When you do this, you're signaling to your nervous system that I'm paying attention, I'm present, and I'm safe. You're bringing yourself back to the present moment. That is what the awareness pause does. It brings you back to the present moment where you can tell yourself, I'm paying attention, I'm present, and I'm safe. Remember, when you are in the stress, when the stress response has kicked in and you're in fight or flight, you can't think. We don't think clearly. By doing the awareness pause, the pause, noticing, naming it, locating it in your body, and then breathing, you're actually taking yourself from the amygdala, which is where the fight or flight originates, to your prefrontal cortex, where you can reason and you can think clearly. Okay, so that is the first one. I need to take a drink of water. Excuse me one moment. Okay, that was refreshing. Okay, you're saying I'm present and I'm safe. Okay, so that's the first. What did I say? The awareness pause. And like I said, if you follow me on Instagram, which you should, follow me on Instagram, ML Bailey Consultants, you will know that I was posting about the pause. Instagram and Facebook, ML Bailey Consultants, posting about the pause. And here I've demonstrated and I've shared how to do that. The second strategy technique that works is called the pattern interruption. Now, when we are doing the pattern interruption, it's more somatic, which means the body, right? It has something to do with the body. And so you use this when you are deep in the spiral, when you just cannot stop that overthinking and the ruminating. This will help you to break the pattern and break it quickly. Okay, so here's the principle behind it. We cannot fully think and feel with equal intensity at the same time. We can't think and feel with equal intensity at the same time. And pattern interruption works because if we can get the body, if we can place attention on our body, then our mind will quiet down. Does that make sense? Well, let me say it again. If we place attention on our body, then our mind will quiet down. And when I'm saying place attention on our body, I'm not talking about thinking about our body parts like we did in the pause. I'm talking about taking some action, doing something physical. This will create a sensory disruption that breaks that loop. Okay, I'm going to give you some examples, okay, um, of what I'm talking about. So you have several options. The first option is to engage in a different sense, it's a different sense, like splash cold water on your face. Have you ever done that? Some people have done that to wake up. Splash cold water on your face, it wakes you up. Splash cold water in your face when you're in that overthinking loop. Hold an ice cube and notice the temperature change. Smell something strong like peppermint or essential oil or even coffee. That will do the trick too. Um, Play a song that you love at a loud volume. I do that all the time. When I'm in my car, especially when I'm driving to work, I got my music playing. Sometimes I look at people around me and they're like looking at me. I don't care. They can join me. Join me because I'm bumping. I'm in that mode, right? So play a song that you love. Turn it up. Dance to it. Taste something that's pretty intense, like some like spicy food or lemon or even ginger. Something that's spicy that kind of wakes you up. That is a way to break that thought loop. The key is that it has to be different and noticeably, sorry, different than what you're doing. And it pulls your attention away from those thoughts. But it's physical in nature. It's actually an action. It's not just another thought, it's an action. You're tasting something, you're smelling something, you're moving, you're hearing something, you're using your five senses, right? To change what you're thinking about, to pull your thoughts away from what you're thinking about. Think about it this way. Sometimes when you hear a loud noise, it grabs your attention. You're doing this in a way that's not frightening, but in a way that grabs your attention. Does that make sense? Okay, let's go to option two. And I mentioned this, move your body. Move your body. Take a walk. Do jumping jacks. Shake your whole body for 30 seconds. Like sometimes I'll do it. I'll do it. I'll be in my office and I will do that. I'll just shake my body. Dance for a couple of minutes to a song that you like. Stretch and stretch hard. Like reach your arms up and really stretch so you can feel that stretch. Not just a little baby stretch, but a real, good stretch. Also, think about this. Movement completes the stress cycle. I've told you repeatedly that the stress response is a physical reaction. That's why you feel it in your muscles. Your muscles tighten, your heart beats faster. You sometimes get a headache. Your stomach feels queasy because it is a physical reaction. Movement completes that. So when you're overthinking, your nervous system is activated, right? The stress response has kicked in, but the activation isn't being used. Movement uses it. When the stress response kicks in, it is so we can move. The stress response kicks in because we feel as if we're under a threat and we need to get away from it, or we need to be poised to fight so that we can survive. That's why movement is so important. So when you're overthinking, you're in the stress response, you're in fight or flight, movement will help relieve that. Okay? So I've given you two strategies to use, right? I've talked about the awareness pause, and I've also talked about the pattern interrupt. Now I'm going to talk about changing your environment. This is a third option for you. Change your environment. So go outside. Nature has been shown to lower stress levels. It's also very nice to be in the sun or in the shade, feeling that breeze blow across our skin, watching the squirrels play. Yeah, watch squirrels play. Watch the ducks run, the geese. Just don't have any food in your hand because they're going to come over to you. But go outside, change rooms, go to a different room if you're inside. Again, splash cold water on your face, right? Another thing that you can do is stand up if you've been sitting down or if you've been lying down. Stand up. This is changing positions, right? Do something different. If you're in that thought loop, just do something different. Do something very different. Okay, so we've talked about the awareness pause. We've talked about the pattern interrupt. Now, I want to share with you the thought inventory. I kind of like the thought inventory. I often suggest this to my clients, the thought inventory. The thing about the thought inventory, though, is that you can't use it when you're in panic mode. It doesn't, it's too, you can't do that. You have to use it when you're not in panic mode. When you're not in panic mode, but you've just been thinking about something. You've just been thinking about something, trying to work through it, trying to figure it out. Your brain is in that loop, but you're not panicking. You're just thinking, overthinking. When you are using the thought inventory, you're going to ask yourself one question, and only one question. And that question is this thought something that I can control? Is this thought something that I can control? If the answer is yes, you're going to take action. If the answer is no, you're going to let it go. So here's how this works. So you find yourself worried about something. And as an example, you could be worried that you said something stupid in the meeting and that your boss thinks you're incompetent. I sometimes have said things that I probably shouldn't have said in the meeting. And I don't think my boss thinks I'm incompetent. I think my boss probably thinks, why did she say that? Why did she say that? Because. Okay, so you said something in the meeting that you probably thought you shouldn't say, and your boss thinks you're incompetent, or you think that, and you're worried, or you might be worried that something you're working on won't go well, and you're going to be blamed for it. Okay. So you ask yourself the question, can I control this? Can you control whether your boss thinks you're incompetent? No, not directly. You can't control what someone else thinks, right? You can't. Can you control the outcome of the project? Well, probably. You can do good work. You can do the very best that you can, but you can't control everything. And to be honest, this is where we usually get stuck, because most of the things that we worry about, we only have partial control of it, or we don't have control of it at all. We're just worrying. We're just worrying about something that we can't do anything about. Step 3, separate what you can control from what you can't control. Focus on the things that you can do something about, and let go of the things that you can't. Right? What can you control? You can control your effort, your focus, your preparation, your communication. What else? Your integrity. Those are the things that you can control. What you can't control, well, you can't control what other people think. You can't control outcomes you don't have power over. And you can't control the future. You can't control other people's reactions to what you're doing. So separate what you can control from what you can't control. And once you do that, then take action on those things that you can control. I mean, if there's something you can do that. Send an email, a follow up email if you need to your boss about what you said. Um, Prepare a little better for the next meeting. Have a conversation about it. Just do that. But you're doing it not to manage the worry or not to get rid of the worry. You're doing it because it's the right action to do. And then if you can't control it, and this is often the hard part, acknowledge that to yourself. I can't control what my boss thinks. I've done my part and I'm letting it go. And this is where a lot of people, and sometimes me, this is where a lot of people struggle because they think that by releasing it, that this means that they don't care. And that's not the case. It doesn't mean that they don't care. It means that you're not using energy, mental energy, spinning on something that you can't change, something that you cannot alter. That's what it means. It does not mean that you don't care, because of course you do. Of course you care. So, we have been talking about stop overthinking, swap 3 common ideas for 3 strong actions. I've talked about three things, I think 4 things that do not work, and I've shared 3 things that do work. The awareness pause, the pattern interrupt, and the thought inventory. I hope you enjoyed what I've shared. Please share this with others you think can use it, you think will benefit from it. Also, follow me because you're going to start noticing some changes as I continue to share and release information about this new thing that I'm doing, that I'm offering, that will be available to you. Well, that's all for now. I'm glad you joined me today. I'm Marcelyn Bailey. As always, take good care.